changes its course rapidly and most effectively, this country will go into bankruptcy. Those are the predictions. You might not default in paying, but you will run your reserves to the ground if your policies pursue. So that is the reality, Honourable Presiding Member, when the President decided to prorogue Parliament. And so one would obviously expect through that prorogation, because the prorogation was only for over a week, that when Parliament was again summoned, that the President would have answers, not just to the economy, obviously the economy being the most vexed issue that the country faces today, but in attempting to solve the problems of the economy, the government will also fundamentally address structural issues that the state of Sri Lanka has faced since the British departed. Now, without making a radical rethink of where you want to head, you're not going to change anything. As someone earlier on quoted, I think, Albert Einstein in saying, by doing the same thing over and over again, you can't expect change. You have to bring about change in order to, in fact, achieve those changes. So in that respect, Honourable Presiding Member, as member parties that represent the Northeast, we also expected the President to have a different vision with regards to how he is going to address the question of the ethnic conflict, and whether in fact he has had a change of heart. Because when he prorogued Parliament, one of the key issues today that he has to face internationally is to in fact create a new constitution that is acceptable by all peoples of Sri Lanka. And in a situation where the last 3 constitutions have been completely rejected by the Tamil people, or where the Tamil people have been completely left out, obviously, if you want to put this country on a proper footing, then the most fundamental structural question that faces this country for the last 74 years has to be addressed and resolved. And so with regards to the Northeast, this is what the President had to say. The people in the Northeast who had been battered by the war for a long time wanted economic security above all else, he says. I'm quoting him. They wanted a good education for children, job opportunities for young men and women, market access for self-employed and entrepreneurs, as well as water for drinking and agricultural purposes, housing facilities, hospitals, roads and other infrastructure facilities. We regard government's prime responsibility towards reconciliation as providing such facilities to these people without discrimination. He goes on to say, therefore I urge the members of Parliament representing the peoples of the North and the East in this Parliament to set aside various political ideologies, at least temporarily, and support the government's efforts to improve the living conditions of the people in your areas, he says. Now, Honourable Presiding Member, in that paragraph, the President says that the mandate the people have given is in fact for economic security, and that is the mandate that is predominant. And therefore it is because of that that he is asking these Tamil parties that represent the Northeast, that are not part of his government, because all the other parties or individuals that were elected are in fact with his government, to forget our policies and our various mandates. But let's look at the mandates that we got. This government claims a 2/3 majority. The last Parliament, in this parliamentary election, they got nearly 60% of the vote. But if you take the Northeast, Honourable Presiding Member, the party is seated in the opposition. The Tamil party is seated in the opposition, who went before the people asking for a federal solution on the basis of the recognition of the Tamil nation, got a mandate that was much, much stronger than the 60% that this government has. In fact, the mandate that the Tamil people voted for, out of the 13 members that are seated in opposition, is well over 75%. But the President has no qualms, no shame in asking a much stronger mandate given by the Tamil people to the parties seated in opposition to be suspended and forgotten for his own racist agenda to be pursued against the Tamil people. Against the Tamil people. And mind you, even when you consider the members who are seated with his own government, the Tamil members, 5 members who got elected, at least 3 of them, certainly in the northern province, got elected on the basis that they are for the recognition of the Tamil nationhood. In fact, Douglas Devananda, in every single poster that he pasted in the Northeast at the last election, asked for the Tamil people to vote for him to in fact make sure that the Tamil nation rises. That was the slogan that they said. So this is a mandate that cannot be compromised. It will never be compromised. It is a mandate for which people have given lives. People have given lives in their thousands. It is a mandate that even after genocide was committed, people still voted for and repeatedly are voting for. You cannot expect that mandate to be given. And if any member seated in opposition Tamils, seated in opposition think they can in fact give up that mandate and support a unitary state, well, they will also get the required result at the following opportunities. So what we need, Honourable Presiding Member, is a sea change. And that sea change obviously is not going to come from government benches. That is obvious. It has to come from opposition. But is there that change, is there that vision in opposition? Unfortunately not. You have the present SJB that thinks that the way forward is to try and outbid the Rajapaksas in their own campaign. To try and commit to a unitary state that is even more centralized. I'm winding up. That is more centralized. When you have policies that are so racist, you have members like the Honourable Sarath Fonseca who stands up and says that memorialization should be banned. So this is the sort of opposition that you have, and unless the opposition leader commits to policies that are genuinely an alternative, then the Tamil people will not vote on a basis of simply defeating the government and electing an opposition, whoever that may be. Those days are gone. If you are going to change this country, you have to change it fundamentally. And fundamentally means you have to also change the structural concerns of this country. Thank you, sir.
බොහොම ස්තුතියි ගරුමන්තුමනි. ඊළඟට ගරු කරුණාදාස කොඩිතුවක්කු මැතිතුමා ඔබතුමාට මිනිත්තු 9ක කාලයක් තියෙනවා.
නව වසරට අභියෝග සම්බන්ධ මුහුණ දීම සඳහා මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ නව සැසිවාරයේ විවෘත කරමින් අතිගරු ජනාධිපති